Welcome to today's immigration tidbit. I'm by the poolside today, relaxing a little bit, but we're still going to do a tidbit. So today, I'd like to talk a bit about H-1Bs. I get a lot of people at all times of the year that say they want to do an H-1B. And granted, they would qualify. They have a sponsor, they have the education, the job is proper. The only minor issue is there's no H-1Bs available. So we're by an airport. Hopefully you can still hear me. So the reality is that H-1Bs are only available for, give or take, about a month a year. Okay. Now there's various exceptions to that, and the exceptions are important to consider. First, if you have gone through the H-1B process before, and now you want to switch employers and file for another H-1B, well, then you don't fall under the numerical limitations. And you can fall under what's called the portability provisions that allows you to simply file a new H-1B. You can even start working for the company before it's approved, although that might be a little risky if it gets denied. But that's a huge exception. It only applies to first-time H-1B holders. Now, another exception is if you happen to be working for a nonprofit. If you're working for a nonprofit under the H-1B category, then it does not fall under the numerical limitations. Okay, so that's another way. Find a nonprofit. I know that's easier said than done, but that's certainly a possibility. In fact, you could theoretically find a nonprofit, work there for a little bit, and then transfer to one that's not a nonprofit without having to fall under the numerical limitations. Okay? Now, as far as all the rest of the people, the H-1B is more of a lottery, and they open it up at a different time, more or less each year, but it's more or less in the same general timeline. So around April 1st is when everybody across the country with their immigration attorneys decides they're going to FedEx in, or next day, whatever it is, the application. Okay, and remember, there's just over 50,000 for the whole year, and generally they get about 250 to 300,000 applications, which means that they randomly pick the various applications to say, okay, you have been selected, and then they adjudicate it at that point. It doesn't mean when they pick it that you have been granted the H-1B. It just means, for all intents and purposes, you're in the lottery, and then they can adjudicate it. The rest of the H-1Bs are then returned to the rightful person with basically, sorry, we didn't pick you, good luck next time. Okay? There's a specific amount just for people with master's degrees or higher. Those last a little longer. So if you happen to have a master's degree or higher and want H-1B, you will have a little longer and a better chance of getting in, keeping in mind that it must comply with the prevailing wages. So if the prevailing wage for someone, for example, with a bachelor's in your particular field would earn $20 an hour, $25 an hour, the master's would likely be more in the neighborhood of $35 to $40 an hour. So it will cost the employer considerably more to fall into that type of position. Also keeping in mind, you don't have to do it full-time, it could be part-time. So if they were willing to offer you full-time at X dollars per hour, and you want to go in under the master's degree because that's the only thing available, well, then they might have to offer you 30 hours a week for whatever the prevailing wage is. Okay, so that's the rundown on getting the H-1B. There are other alternatives which we have had to look into over the years because again, 75% of the people who apply don't get accepted, and either they have to leave the country or have to find something else. So there are different alternatives. There are different ways of trying to get in depending on your situation. Okay?